second verse there, David.
I don't think I've ever heard it.
No, neither have I actually, the more I think about this. Anyway, the last thing we both said before I pressed record was, what are we doing? I don't know.
Yes, we're doing a show.
That sums up the state of both our lives and this podcast. It's Footy and Frothies. Daggy and Barney are with you again to look back on all things rugby league. I was going to say a fine round of footy, but there was not much joy to be had from
not from either of us. That's for
many
sure.
people in our lives, really, except for Penrith fans. But whatever.
This week in footy and hearing damage, we seem to blow each other's heads off.
Sorry. And also
week.
the classic thing of me turning my headphones up and Barney turning his quiet down. So, the ringing in my ears is matched only by the voices these days. But anyway,
how good.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm starting to get a few of those voices myself following this Cronulla team. Another week, another abysmal loss for the Cronulla Sharks this week, which is fantastic as a supporter of the aforementioned team. Yours didn't bring you much joy either. You were in the game for a fair while.
They should have won the fucking game.
They should have,
but they're
won the
completely incapable of football.
A couple of mixed bags in between. There's a couple of really nice games of football and a couple of average ones, but
a couple of I dare say flattering ones to some teams.
Absolutely.
Ish. But we get to talk about all of that after we talk about some news. Everything else right? Well,
everything's going
Any
good,
questions
mate.
for me? No?
Not particularly.
No.
Well, how's tax season treating you?
It's right. Yeah. The worst is over now, so I get to do some notes and stuff again. So, soldier on. We get to talk about, there's not a heap of news actually. Signing news is Liam Knight's gone to the Bulldogs effective immediately as they try and find a middle. Very interesting, given they've told Tyler Mariner and Ryan Sutton they're no longer wanted, so they'll be both on the market come the end of the year. Yeah, Ryan Sutton's been probably one of the more disappointing purchases, I would suggest.
For Tyler Mariner, hasn't been far behind, to be honest. Both of those guys have
was club captain at the start
haven't boosted their reputation at all.
No, that middle is a real concern. I know they get kick out back this week, which gives them some size, but they've got some shoppings to do.
Yeah.
Moses and Byes going to the UK effective immediately, and Freddie Lussick's coming back.
Probably a good move for Moses, to be honest.
What else is he
go
going to do?
over there? I think he's joined one of the top teams in the comp as well, so he could run around and be quite competitive for a season or two and get a bit of superannuation. So
be fine. He'll be fine over there.
Dare say he'd be quite a good attacking spark over there. So.
Definitely. So all the best to him. Dane Laurie's coming back to Penrith from the Tigers. I don't think I've seen a more heavily hyped reserve grader going back to play reserve grade. Did we talk about that last week?
No, we didn't. They only come out over the weekend, but actually had some nice touches on the weekend, playing at 6 when given a bit of space. Can't pass left or right, unfortunately.
No, passing is an issue with his game.
He threw a couple of decent right to left passes, but be interesting where he fits in that situation for Penrith. I can't see him getting a spot in their first grade roster.
I think he's just happy to come back and
be part of the club.
Be part of the club and see his mates and come drink at the Grey Gums Hotel. Yeah, whatever. Cool.
Hopefully he proves us wrong and he comes out and becomes an important part of their team, but I'm not sure it happened.
Interesting to see if Cogger sticks around or whether that's the role he fills. Peachy's done a fantastic job since coming back, so who's to say otherwise?
Cogger really should be looking for a spot somewhere else now, I would imagine.
I think he is.
Same with Kurt Falls, even though he's towards the back end of his career, but there's a few teams looking for some halves. So.
Amy Plains first grade, I believe. Contact Steve Chester. Judiciary news, Colquhoun's facing a match or two for his, what was it yesterday? High shot.
Dangerous contract. I think it was the one where he spun around with the leg. And
Tarek Sims getting 2 matches for his binning. Tapau's V-trigger high knee strike. Got 3 matches.
What was that?
That was a brain fart is what it was, but it could have probably got twice
It was a flying knee. It knocks blokes out every fucking Sunday in the UFC cards. Yeah, it was horrendous. I don't know what triggered that fucking movement out of him because there was nothing apart from hitting the bloke in the chest or possibly on the chin, which would have been horrendous for Campbell Graham if he copped that knee into the face with the force that he threw it up.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It wasn't pretty, so... 3 matches, probably happy to take the early play on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably got lucky.
And Jesse Arthurs gets a match as well.
Mm-hmm.
Injury news, Paseka MCL, so he's going to be out for a while.
Isn't there Parramatta?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
What?
Suspension.
Oh, suspension. I think the rest are all fine.
Simonson headshot.
I think the rest are were all fine. If they took the early play, were all like $3,000 fines.
Was that RCG as well? Was that this weekend?
That was last weekend.
That was last weekend. Yeah. He's out. That's right.
Let me double check. Nico got charged for bad mouthing someone
and trying to trip someone.
Early play is $3,000 for Halomi, for Waddell, Parramatta.
Okay.
Wacker Blake, fine.
Yep.
Val got a fine for his alleged high shot. We'll get to that one. Madison got a $3,000 fine.
Yeah, good. No more suspensions. That's fine.
The rest are all just, as I said, I only wrote down
or early guilty pleas.
The ones where they're missing games. Injury news: Nanais 4 to 6 weeks for his AC joint. He was out for the season proper. Hopefully back for the finals.
Didn't look good.
No, it wasn't pretty. As I said, Paseka will be spending might well be the rest of the season, really. 6 weeks to go.
So MCL's normally 6 to 8 weeks.
And Josh Alloa has dislocated or done something to his shoulder, which he's popped out a few times.
Was a shoulder.
Remus Smith has an abductor injury, which is the old fast bowler injury there. See how many weeks he misses. Niokore HIA. Teague Wilton officially out for the season.
Yep.
Sean Lane, a dislocated elbow to go with getting cleaned up there. And the chat, I haven't seen, there hasn't been an official announcement. The chat is Josh Hodgson will medically retire because he has to have neck surgery. And at 34, it's probably not something he wants to do.
Yeah, probably not worth coming back and risking that again at the back end of your career. Sean Lane's had no luck this year.
Given he was
missed everything
in the conversation for the Australian back row, it's been a rough season.
Yeah, I think he's played a handful of games. Poor bugger seems to cop an injury every other game at the moment. But
or double here. And by the way, one of the dumbest things I saw on the weekend, we got knocked clean out by a knee, and Desanasi decided to go back and pat him on the head. So, well done. On that one. That amused me anyway. Anything else you want to talk footy about before I have to talk about this fucking game?
No, I think we have to talk about this game.
18-14, the Tigers. Now let's plug some stuff. Check out, I just want to talk about it. RugbyLeagueMerch.com. Check them out for our hats and shirts and steins and all that sort of good stuff. Follow us on Threads. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube. You can follow some of our clips
Facebook
on
page.
TikTok. It's on there somewhere. If you search Footy and Frothy, there's a couple of our clips up there. And leave us some feedback. Facebook as well. And YouTube, leave us feedback all across there. Quick shout out to Fezco97, who dropped us a line last night. Love the potty, guys. Saw me at the Colonial having dinner with the fam, but didn't want to interrupt. So appreciate that.
Lovely.
But yeah, enjoys the show. So fantastic. Yeah, thanks for listening, I guess. And I was a Colonial regular for 10 years there until I migrated this side of the tracks. But COVID put the win through that pub, unfortunately. But thanks, Fez. I had a quick look at his YouTube channel. There's some cool Panthers stuff up there, so check that out.
Nice.
I'll show Elijah some of that during the week, some of the highlights of the last couple of years. So thanks for listening, and hopefully we don't bore you too much tonight. 18-14. Let's get to it then. I've put this off long enough. The Dragons beat the Tigers. You may as well do the stats.
3 tries apiece, 3 out of 3 conversions for the Dragons, 1 out of 3 for the Tigers. 73% completion, played 77%. 350 plus running metres for the Tigers. 2 line breaks to 6 in the way of the West side. 28 tackle busts to 22. 7 offloads to 16. 1 forced dropout to 3. 374 tackles played, 354. 11 errors to 9. 5 penalties conceded to 6. 0 ruck infringements for the Dragons, 1 against the Tigers, 1 sin bin against the Dragons. Just quickly while I do my stats, I go with the home team as the first number that it's read, and the away team is the second. So just get that out of the way. Supercoach points, Junior Tupu with 136 Supercoach points and one hell of a game of football. Lomax also with a brilliant showing with 115 Supercoach points. Dane Laurie with 106.
Did you really?
Somehow.
Had some line breaks.
Yeah, the pass along the ground for a try assist. Yeah. He gave Tupu a line break assist down the left side as well.
She had a couple of busts through the middle, and probably the best he looked was actually playing as a second fullback more than anything. But anyway, there was some attractive footy played, especially in that first half. Some unattractive footy played.
There was some very unattractive footy, but some of the tries that were laid on here didn't look like, a couple of the bottom teams that were there. Lomax again with some individual brilliance, some nice passes out to Junior Tupu, and I think it was Stafford out that side that were causing a lot of problems down that right-hand side in defence for the Dragons. And there was some attractive football played. Some cut out balls, kicks inside, flick passes, providing points. Dragons were strong early. They put the Tigers under a lot of pressure. Hunt had a few nice touches, as did Sloan at the start of this game, and that kicked him out to a decent little bit of a lead there. Sloan just gave away a dumb penalty. I don't know what the hell the bloke's thinking. He's directly under the post with the ref standing behind him, just screaming at him to let him go, and he just kept holding him down. 10 minutes in the bin, and that gave the Tigers a little bit of room to push down that left-hand side in their attack, and caused a lot of problems for the Dragons there for, 20-minute period. 10 minutes while they were in the bin and another 10 minutes after he come back on the field. It got him back into the game. Got him in front at half-time. Lovely little kick back over for Appy to score under the post. I'm sure that would have been an exciting point of the night for you.
It was. Appy was good in this game. He's so great. And just his ability to be the last, he just doesn't give up. He chases absolutely all those grubbies. He's always in and about there. I love the fact he's committed again as captain, and we've seen glimpses of what the youngsters have. We didn't mention his signings. Did we last week?
Fainu brothers,
officially with the Tigers, but so there's little signs. The biggest problem for the Tiger. Where do I go with this? I love the West Tigers, but I actually can't do it anymore because I have watched. After my 3 children, I suppose I got to put Mariah forth, and my missus. I love the West Tigers. I've watched. I think I watched 24,960 minutes. I've watched just about every single one since the last time they played finals footy.
Yep.
These last 2 weeks have done me I can't.
Where'd those minutes come from?
That is the 26 rounds times 80.
Yeah,
it was easy because I didn't have to throw finals footy in, and it's actually more than that because I haven't included all the golden points that have been fucked in over the years. But my fucking number plate is Daggy 05. I have more Tigers jerseys than I have actual shirts. I cannot watch them for the rest of the year. This game broke me. I went to bed and cried myself to sleep. So for the rest of the year, David, you are going to do the review for the Tigers
exclusively
games. And I will sit in the corner and listen to panpipes because this game fucking broke me. The fact we've got 2 reserve graders, 2 blokes on the field, genuinely should be playing reserve grade. The problem was halves. They were the halves. Because the Tigers forward pack did a fantastic job here. And the best they looked all night was when they had just hammered the front door.
Clemmer followed by Bateman.
Through Bateman, and Appy was rolling.
Stefano was awesome.
They were earning the right to score a bunch of points through there, and it made Laurie look really good actually playing through there as a support player to Appy at times. They earned the right to score that last try just before the half, and then the next try that was all in the back of the hard work from those forwards. Unfortunately, the execution. There's someone else I'll get to in a minute. I've just remembered. The execution, the times in between was poor. They could have put another 10 or 12 on the Dragons with the possession and the work their forwards did. Sadly, that's been the story of the Tigers all year. And I went to bed for migraine. I just turned the TV off, sat and stared at the wall.
I mentioned there was some nice footy in the first half, but the second half just looked like 2 bottom 4 teams that just do not know how to get the job done.
And they're just... Sorry.
No, go for it.
No, I'll talk about it soon.
Right.
Because I just remember, I'm now having flashbacks.
Yeah. Flashback. Errors, penalties, plenty coming from both teams.
I can't watch them anymore. And this is on the advice as well of my spouse, my cardiologist, and the Apple warranty team. I'm just not watching him anymore.
yeah.
That's just broken, man.
Your mental health cage.
I can't talk.
Like both teams created pressure and opportunities and then just blew them, like time and time again in this second half. Individual effort from Lomax was the difference. Like set up Ravalawa down that side where he did a 360 and a flick pass, and Ravalawa barged over the top of.
10 minutes ago, after Ravalawa carried on like on fucking one leg for 10 minutes, I sat and went, Ravalawa's going to score the match-winning try here.
Did do that.
It was fucking coming from as I've followed the Tigers for that long, for all of those 25,000 minutes, and I knew it was coming. Fuck me, and then there it was. I called it like anyway. Keep going.
I thought Nofa was pretty good. The starting pack was great for the Tigers. Twal, Stefano, Appy were the best three of them. Those blokes, they really put in this one. The other three were right behind them. They weren't far behind those three that I mentioned being the best three. The starting forward pack was fantastic. Junior Tupu's best night as a first grade player, and he was their best player on the evening, I thought. Even though Laurie,
Appy was. I think if Appy stays in, I don't understand
why they
Appy should never have come. If Appy stays in the field, I genuinely believe Tigers win the game.
Yeah, more than likely.
Or if they'd played him and Simpkin together for a bit, but they have this thing where Appy's gonna have a rest after, and maybe that's by his choice. I couldn't imagine, but I know obviously Penrith always had the two hooker rotation.
Yeah,
but if he stays on the field, I think Tigers win this game. Simple as that.
Yep. Where was I? Laurie and Little were good, as well as Amon for the Dragons. Jack DeBellin and Burns were their best forwards on the field. Billy Burns is really starting to put in some good consecutive matches. Hunt and Lomax were the Dragons' best players, I thought. They were the ones that really provided most of the attacking opportunities. So.
What else do you want me to say?
Not much. I Lomax. I gave Lomax 3 points in this one. I just thought... jumping over the top to score a try and setting one up for Ravalawa.
Don't even give Ravalawa points.
No, Ravalawa didn't get points.
Appy
I either had Appy or Junior, Tupu for 2, and then I had Hunt, Stefano, or obviously Appy's getting 2, so Junior, Tupu.
Give Junior 2. Give Junior the 1, sorry.
Yeah.
Because Ben Hunt, yeah.
Stefano was fantastic as well. It was a notable mention.
Yeah, I think he racked up 70-odd Supercoach points, which shocked me because I didn't play him.
Did heaps of work in this one, Stefano.
We haven't really talked about the Dragons, but we don't really need to because who cares? And they didn't do much. They just existed, and the Tigers existed worse.
Well, was it 2 individual efforts from Lomax, realistically, and a what was the other one? I'm pretty sure it was just it was the Sloan one.
The Sloan one, which that was a very nice play. Sloan had some nice touches. It looked sharp and quick. The rest of the team didn't. How have I not mentioned this? Tommy Talau, like, fuck me. His first two mistakes both led to the first 2 tries.
Yeah.
He either doesn't pass the ball to unmarked Tupou or passes that early that Tupou is just in no man's land and gets smashed. Even I think with 10 to go, unmarked Tupou, he just zig back inside and don't do that. He would have dropped, I think, would you say there was 11 errors or something? He would have had 8 of them. His defensive positioning was woeful, and the quicker they ship him to Brookvale, the happier I'll be. That's foreshadowing because somebody's going to be in a pod at the end of the night. The Friday. There is a ray of hope, though. There is a ray of hope.
Right.
The NRLW started, and I sat and watched the Tigers girls debut and put on a fantastic second half performance. My girl, Ebony Pryor, fantastic, commanding dummy half. Loved her work around the ruck as they won 36-8. Very, very good to watch. And on the back of an awesome forward effort there, which I'll get to a bit later. So I do have hope, and I'll cheer them on. So for the rest of the season, I will review their games, and you can review
it's their first game in the
gigs.
NRLW, yeah?
Yeah.
The Sharkies got the win too, I'm pretty sure, in their first game for the NRLW.
That was
as well.
fantastic. So I got to be happy for a bit. So I'm sticking solid with the Tigers girls, and hopefully
I missed that one. I was in the middle of doing some housework and stuff.
I
caught 5 or 10 minutes of it.
Talk about flattery scorelines. Para were in the game for a lot of it. It was a real good game of footy. So, go the girls.
Go the girls. Yeah, the girls.
21-20, the Friday night kicked off with the Warriors-Raiders game, which was a flummoxing game because, I mean, it did go to Golden Point, but it did feel like slightly flattering to Canberra, but maybe I'm being
Absolutely.
super
No,
harsh.
fuck no.
What do you make of the stats and what do you make of the game?
Geez, the Raiders have gotten lucky this year with teams coming up against them and playing like utter shit. Like, seriously. You seen what the Warriors did to the Sharks the week before, and then they come out and they were a completely different team against the Raiders. They should have blown them off the park in the first hour of this game. They were well and truly on top. Took them about 15 minutes to get control, but fuck me, they were absolutely rampaging through the middle of Canberra. And then they just shut down for the last half an hour. But anyway, we had 3 tries to 4, 2 out of 3 conversions, played 2 out of 4 for the Raiders, 2 out of 2 penalty attempts for the Warriors, and 1 out of 1 field goal attempt for the Warriors. 77% completion, played 80%, 173 plus running meters for the Raiders, 5 line breaks apiece, 21 tackle busts, played 37 for Canberra, 3 offloads to 7, 2 forced dropouts to 4, 418 tackles, played 343, 11 errors apiece, 4 penalties conceded to 5, 3 ruck infringements against both sides, 1 inside the 10 against the Warriors, 3 against the Raiders. Horsburgh with 76 Supercoach points, Sean Johnson with 74, Elliot Whitehead with 73.
Yeah, as you said, Warriors were, and it wasn't my eyes deceiving me. Warriors were well on top for that complete first half. Just about Hudson Young got the sort of against the grain try
drop
along
ball.
the way, but they looked a classy team for a lot of this. Corey returned. He's been fantastic, as I've spruiked all year, and blew me out of all my first try scorers.
Yes.
And then there was just lots of nothing much happening where they controlled everything and didn't put any points on.
Well, you have to give it to Canberra. Like,
They hung tough. They did hang tough.
They were strong. Their desperate attack at the last 20 minutes of the game really, caused some upset and problems for the Warriors. But I don't think they should have been in that position with 20 to go, to be honest. I think the Warriors sort of let the foot off the pedal at about the 50-minute mark, and if they'd scored another one in that sort of 10-minute period where they went, the enthusiasm sort of came out of them a little bit. I don't think the Raiders come anywhere near coming back in this game, but it is what it was. And, for the first 60 minutes, the Warriors looked like they were in real control, and they were going to cruise to a comfortable win, but yes, bit of complacency and, as I said, some desperate attack from the Raiders, and we're going to Golden Point, as they like to say. Warren loves it. That was a lovely ball for Niokora to score the first try that you mentioned. Egan just poking around out of dummy half, and a little short ball for Niokora to dive over. 5 minutes later, he drops the fucking thing, and Young runs 40.
Yeah, I know. But all of their forwards are such great hole hitters. And a lot of that's off Egan, who's underrated. Might be the most underrated player in the comp. But for Noah Blake, how often does he walk over untouched? Jackson Ford's fantastic, just hits holes as well as anyone. Yeah, put him up against Niokora or anyone else you want to say. Barnett does the same now, he's back, and then the same here with Niokora.
It comes a lot to do with the confidence of the guys inside him, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'll get to it later because I actually did make a point of it, especially in the Penrith game. When we get to that one. But just the confidence to know that whatever run or whatever angle that they want to take it.
Yeah.
The blokes inside you'll get the ball. They'll put it where where it needs to be for you to run that line.
And I think might have been Cooper Cronk made the point that a good half's only as good as his best hole runners because
absolutely.
For example, Appy can go and put the perfect ball on the chest every time, but if the second row is in slow motion, or treading or moving at train pace, well, it doesn't matter. And it looks like it actually looks like a bad pass or the wrong play.
Old mate gets belted.
So they're just so clinical when they're right, but they were not for about an hour here after this.
Spill ball from Niokora, and Hudson ran 40 metres. Fuck, he's quick. Back rower runs like a centre. He absolutely took off and left them for dead to score that try. The contact in this game was really good. There was some really big hits for a good probably half an hour in this game, especially after Canberra scored that first try. Both teams really ramped up the physicality and got stuck into each other. Warriors started to get on top, I thought, and then once they started to get on top in the middle, they really started to pull those edges apart. They went wide. They started to give Tomoko on one side and especially Croker. He's been targeted since he's come back. He went pretty well for the first 2 games, I think, in defence, but he's starting to become a little bit of a liability again out there for the Raiders. But they did well enough, obviously, to get back where they were. The amusing point for me was when Chance just dived on his face to score a try over in the corner. He dead set just dove head first.
Did he do it? Did he do that last year? Yeah. Was he the bloke that knocked himself out last year doing it?
I'm pretty sure.
I just realised that.
It was an absolute swan dive, and he landed flat on his face.
Yeah, but he did it for. He got HIA'd last year doing it, or 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
It was him, and he had the big fucking
Wilt
burn mark on his face. Yeah, Chance, use your hands, bro.
That really amused me. Just landed flat on his face. The mullet got the flying perm got airborne again in the corner, and as I said, it looked like the Warriors were in pretty much in control there. Was it literally 30 seconds to go in the game, and Canberra get the big shift on out to the left and put the winger down the sideline and gets it back into, like, it was a beautiful pass from White.
It was, yeah.
To get Opawade away, and then the ball comes back to Whiten to score. But
Whiten showed some afterburners there too, actually.
Did have a bit of go on. That's just like, obviously there's skill and tenacity to get yourself in that position, but there's also got to be an element of luck to be able to get back to where they are. But man, they tried so hard, but the Golden Point was just a procession. Like
that was actually what I was going to say.
The Warriors,
it's funny, it was like they just switched back on and went, "Fuck you, we're better than you. We're stop dicking around now.
We're just going to dominate through the middle."
And it was like the perfect Golden Point set. They just went, "Do it." Torhu's run was fantastic. Where he hit the line, bit of footwork, and made 15 metres or something. And then from then you just felt Johnson was going to miss. And that was just clinical and well handled, that whole Golden Point, which is funny that I've spent more time talking about a set than the rest of the game. But
Canberra did have an opportunity to win the game too. Croker would have been pretty disappointed, I would imagine, with the kick from the sideline, because he wins that game if he slots that one, which he's done for most of his career. But
takes me back to the 2011 prelim final when he missed. Anyway, prelim? One of them.
Yeah, I thought Chris Rapana, Papali'i were good for the Raiders. Whitehead, Tarpanay and Fogarty
brother
were good too. Who's that?
Chris Rapana.
Chris Rapana? Chris and Rapana. Chris and Rapana and Papali'i were good. Whitehead had a very good game, as did Fogarty and Tomoko. You throw in Tarpanay, but it's just expected these days. I thought Horsburgh was fantastic. He was close to the best player on the field again, with his aggression and impact through the middle of the field. Chance, Dallin, just do what they do. They give him enough time and opportunities. They'll put points on you week in, week out. Fanua Blake and Barnett were really good in the middle of the field. They're a big part of why they were. The stats say that Canberra dominated the middle with the run meters, but for mine, the majority of the night belonged to the likes of Fanua Blake and Barnett.
Well, let's just read this. Egan, 55 tackles. Torhu, 50. And Jackson Ford, 51 tackles. That's massive numbers for three blokes through that middle.
Yeah. Egan and Torhu, too, that you just mentioned, were brilliant in what they did. But, the kicking game with Sean Johnson ended up being the difference in the game. So.
And in interest of fairness, Horsburgh made 60.
Yes, he did.
And Whitehead, 43 tackles. So,
yeah, there's a lot of play through the middle of the field.
Yeah. Just another bloke I want to wrap, who I didn't quite realise. We've talked about a little bit, but we don't talk about it a lot. Rocco Berry was good, and he's had a good season, but real imposing presence at his best.
Yeah.
Sometimes he
real strong ball.
Yeah, sometimes you watch a game, you go, "Fuck, he's a big boy," and you don't.
He was out for a long period of the year.
And you don't sort of. It's not in your head that he is, but when he was impressive here, and he has been for a couple of this whole
I
run,
gave him some raps last year.
I
do remember talking him up a few times.
Yeah.
During the year last season, but there's a long layoff this year. I can't remember what that was exactly for, but he was out for quite a while. I had Sean Johnson as man of the match, obviously field goal to win the game, and some of the passing and kicking that he did throughout it. Horsburgh with 2.
Their halves are really, just on that, we didn't really talk about him, their halves are really clicking now. Metcalf was
really
a bit
quiet in this one.
But he still hit some nice holes. He could have scored.
Yes.
Got close there in the second half. Yeah, keep going.
I gave Egan 1. I just thought the
Who was second? Horsburgh?
Horsburgh 2.
Yeah, okay.
And then I had Egan with all the tackling and set up a try and some beautiful passing as well.
Yeah. Well, it's either him or Fanua Blake. So
Or Harris.
Or it's the usual suspects. I think give Egan because he's had a rough year. I think it'd just be great. There's so many blokes in this team you'd love to see win a comp and just
absolutely.
Like I don't want to say they deserve it, but they're getting close to deserving it. Then this happened. 36-20, Souths. A few of these Souths halves. We're trying an addition for the West Tigers from what I saw, but 36-20 Brisbane and played Souths. I don't think either half covered themselves in glory in this game for Souths, but what did the stats say?
3 tries to 6, 3 out of 3 conversions for the Rabbits, 6 out of 6 for the Broncos, 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for South Sydney. 66% completion, played 65%, 246 plus running metres for the Broncos, 6 line breaks to 8, 20 tackle busts to 35, 11 offloads from both teams, 2 forced dropouts from the Rabbitohs, 299 tackles played, 286, 15 errors to 14, 3 penalties conceded to 8, 3 ruck infringements to 4, 1 inside the 10 against both teams, 2 sin bins from the Broncos. Stags with 136 Supercoach points, Walsh with 111, Adam Reynolds with 92, and then you had Alex Johnson from the Rabbitohs on 82.
What an interesting weekend in that this weekend and we'll get to it, we pretty much saw the perfect sin bin 10 minutes.
Pretty close.
Yeah. In the Newcastle game. And then in this game and the Para game, we saw how not to do that. And I forgot about this because I was going to make the point in the Para game, but this was similar because you played 12 blokes for 20 minutes. They really should have won this game, South. I think South's possession-wise and for a lot of this, they were dominating Brisbane for the first half hour, 40 minutes. Say matching, but they had enough opportunity here where they stripped them on that edge and they couldn't execute. And Cody Walker was dropping balls left, right,
Broncos'
centre.
scramble was pretty good again.
And you've got to give credit to Brisbane. It's not a knock on
well.
Brisbane, but they might have the best scramble in the comp, actually.
It's close to it, yeah.
Now I think about it.
They get across.
Yeah.
They get numbers there.
But they had times where with the way they'd started, they would have put 40 on some teams, or should have put 40 on 10. And I know they're missing the trail, but I thought their execution was that Ilias had an average game, and Walker had a barely better than average.
Well, they
game.
harassed him to an inch of his life in this game.
And that's the thing. It's the Adam Reynolds show, I guess, because he would just been getting his face, get on Cody. No matter what you do, get on Cody.
And without any real big trigger point on his outside, apart from maybe Murray with the switch back inside through the middle, there was no real obviously no injection from Taff on that sweep play to give him a bit of extra time. There was no real changes of directions from centres.
If Latrell's on the field,
like
then all of a sudden you got the 2 blokes there waiting for Latrell, which opens up Cody. But
and you then don't rush because if you're rushing from the inside and Latrell changes his angle and goes back through,
you've got one bloke with half a shoulder on Latrell Mitchell. Yeah.
So. Really frees them up to do that, which is what you've seen from the Sharks in the last 6 weeks as well. The opposition's gone out of their way to really continually rush out and pressure Nico Hines, which is you're seeing similar results to what you saw in this game from the Broncos with Cody Walker. They really did get out. He had a couple of nice touches where did manage to get on the outside and free up a few players out there to get through there, but without a point of difference, it really makes it very difficult.
Which is so interesting. Well, it didn't come off, but they started the season making Ilias the centrepiece of their attack, and they've worked backwards.
They're playing in the middle, and now
it feels like the confidence is going to go back.
They're starting to go to the edge too quickly again.
Yeah.
Doesn't help that they have been beaten handily in the middle in a couple of games just in the recent past as well. So probably lose a little bit of confidence there when your forwards are getting beaten pretty handily. And they weren't flogged in this game, but they were pretty well controlled by a Brisbane pack.
From what I said earlier, by 35, 40 minutes in, it really swung the other way.
Yeah, but Murray was...
Brisbane, South could have led this probably 18-20-0.
By the back end of the game, the only bloke that was holding that middle together was Murray and Cook with his defence.
Second spell, Payne, when he comes back on for that second stint, he goes nuts. Which I'm not telling anyone they don't know, but...
they mentioned the scramble defence from Brisbane. It was both sides, really. South did well to hold them out a couple of times early in that first half. lot of stop-start in the first half, the penalties, errors, which sort of broke the game down a bit. Neither team seemed to really get their game in order. There was a bit of a very clunky attack from both sides. Up until half-time, Campbell Graham scores right on half-time to put Souths into a 2-point lead going into half-time, and it probably felt a little bit like the better side was behind. Brisbane were sort of, creating more opportunities than Souths, even though they had been in control of the middle of the field. Brisbane kicked into gear and Souths didn't. Like, it's as simple as that.
Not many. It's funny that I was going to use the same analogy, and we use a deep water analogy of Penrith. I don't think I can't think of too many teams in the comp that have that Reece Walsh top gear Brisbane that can match them in that last 15 when they really go. And I think that's what's going to win comps is that last 15. And I can only think, like you can say Penrith if everything clicks. But
the Sharks back line at their absolute best earlier in the year. They've got points in them, but they don't have the middles.
If you had, I guess,
they don't have
Harry
the middles
Grant,
like
Munster
Penrith
and Hughes and Pappenhausen, red hot. But other than that, there's not, like, when they go, and it's like, keep up. And because they could have put, and even, like, they won by 16, and I understand why that other try was disallowed, but that probably should have been. I think they'd had them, they'd had them beat anyway, and Walsh has turned a foot.
Who's the best three teams going around at the moment? Probably Penrith, Brisbane, and the Warriors.
Yeah.
Best three engine rooms in the comp.
Yeah.
So,
and simple, pure and simple, that's it.
and then you get they've got skill and X factor out wide. They've got blokes with pace. They've got good halves. Throw it all together. It seems like a pretty simple formula, but good luck getting all the pieces to put them in and around each other to make it work. Reece Walsh was electric for a big part of this game, especially in that second half. Once they did start to get a bit of depth to their attack and the passes started hitting the chest rather than hitting the knees or hitting the ground, he's got errors in him. Like everyone mentions, he makes too many mistakes, but fuck, when he gets it right, it's just almost points every time when he gets it right. So, it's worth the gamble.
But he's just that guy that I can't think of really. Like Latrell does it in a different way. South's do it in a different way. It's different to Teddy as well at his best.
Absolutely.
His pace, like when he burns him. Like it's often going, and he just lights up the field, lights up the stadium.
It's in this game.
Well, he could have had a different day, and we've said a lot about him actually this year. He could have had 3 tries himself here. Probably should have had at least 2.
Yep.
And he put Cobbo over through it, and he's got that the great passing game, and when he lit up in the last 20, it was phenomenal, and to the point where I have no doubt in my mind that's not how they're going to go. I'm sure they'll give Teddy a retirement tour, but Reece Walsh should be Australian fullback.
Absolutely.
Simple, pure, simple, and that's it.
You saw the way he just gets on the outside of people, and then that just creates all sorts of problems for the blokes outside him. If they wander out too far, he'll just go himself and go through the middle, which he did on occasions in this game, but then he'll bring in the likes of Cobbo and Staggs on his outside, or for Farnworth down if he's going down the other side, and it's just so hard to stop. Even if you do stop it, you've scrambled with 4 blokes and you're now stuck over in the corner, and you strip for numbers back around the other side, and you're just waiting for them. It's basically just sit and wait and hope that the ball doesn't get to the other edge of the field because you're fucked if it does. Broncos, really in control for the 20 minutes of that second half. The second sin bin probably really coincided with South's sort of mini comeback that they had there. There was a good sort of 10-minute period.
I was nervous for about 5 minutes only because I tipped Brisbane and everything else.
5 or 10 minute period there where South seemed to sort of get up and rolling, and they took back a little bit of that middle sort of forwards, and then scored a try over there on the edge with Tass, but it didn't ever seem like it was going to be a full-on comeback. It was snuffed out pretty quickly once again. The other
thing as well is how well, like, one-on-one, they've got as good as centres in the game. So Staggs has been great this year, but he was outstanding again. Cobbo, now he's had a couple of games back. He looked dangerous. And Walsh chiming in just that wherever he needs to in that line either side of the back row. it's enabling Stags to meet blokes like Tass one-on-one, and he's just going to beat them with strength or pace or whatever it might be.
Either way he decides.
And then you got Herbie on the other side, and you've either got... And Jesse Arthur's a good player, but then you've also got Coates still up your sleeve. You've got Tristan Saylor up your sleeve. They've done a good job with the rebuild. Ben Eichner's did a good job.
Absolutely did.
On this rebuild.
Cook, the halves were really quiet for South. We both mentioned that already. Cook and Arrow were very good.
Arrow was almost the best player in the field.
Very aggressive.
Tried his absolute arse off. If he's not in the field, South probably get beat by another 10.
AJ and Graham did their job. They were quite strong, ball in hand especially. Murray was brilliant. He just worked his backside to the ground again. Obviously seems a bit fresher than what he was going into Origin. He's I think they got the bye off the back of Origin, and he's been fantastic ever since. So hopefully he sticks with that for the rest of the season, especially for South's supporters there. Cobbo, Capewell and Jensen were all good. They all did a good part in this game. Adam Reynolds, Carrigan and Haas were very good. Like they were just every week. You don't expect anything different from them. Reynolds' kicking game was fantastic. Carrigan and Haas were just doing that 1-2 double up that they do through the middle of the field, and but you think you've done well to control those two, and then the ball starts hitting the edges, and good luck stopping that. Staggs and Walsh were the stars of the show. They were the two blokes that just killed it out on that right edge.
Yeah. We're a 3-horse race now. Brisbane, Warriors, Penrith. Not much more to add, I think.
Storm get Pappenhausen back and match it in the middle, maybe, but...
I'd be sure that Pappenhausen will get to that. It's. I agree. I was going to rep Jensen because he had a real good game.
Absolutely.
And so did Willison. He had a couple of good runs there.
He's a big boy.
And impactful runs, including a try. For half a heartbeat there, I thought that was Paddy getting into clear air near the try line, but it wasn't. We still wait on that one, but pretty dominant. I think they've now nursed themselves through Origin, and now they can really drop the...
Big time.
Yeah, now can drop the foot, and I hope they put a couple of 40-point scores.
They've done incredibly well. Same with Penrith. To get through this Origin period the way they have, they've done incredibly well.
Yeah, and just have a quick look who... Brisbane draw 2023. Let's have a look who's got left here. They've got the Chooks this week, which is actually an interesting game. Chooks, Cowboys, Eels, Raiders, Storm. So they don't have an easy way home. If they win them, they're minor premiers for one, obviously, and might be red hot, and they could put a show on some of them. Real good run home for us to analyse.
They're going to know where they're at,
and some other teams are going to know
2
that
weeks
as well
before the finals. Interesting whether he gives them a let up in one of those last 2 games before the finals.
I don't know if they can.
Gives a few of them a rest.
You'd really want a minor premiership.
Don't think it really matters as long as you're in the top 4.
Maybe Storm. Maybe if Storm and them are both in. Maybe that's the game they give red. But they've all had their fair share of time off.
Yeah,
right?
they've got another bye too.
Well, Walsh has had a freshen up. He doesn't want any more time off. Has missed a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's just coming
might
back.
Give Carrigan a week. Reynolds has had his little couple
Very
of
true. Yeah.
and they've got more to come back. They've got Capewell, the other second rower, who I forget every time.
Flegler coming back?
Flegler's still up their sleeve. And as I said, potentially one of those outside backs as well, your Coates and Co of the world, if they need him.
Yeah, Ricky, is he due back? Or is he...
Ricky's the one I keep. No, Ricky will be back at some point. Oh, is he out? No, he's not out for the year, I don't think. Anyway, 3 points for Reece Walsh.
Yes,
2 points for Tony Staggs.
Correct.
And 1 point,
I went Murray or Reynolds, I thought.
I'll give it Reynolds. I think that was dominant enough, and he's had a great year. Adam Reynolds. Fantastic. So I think we need...
His kicking and pass selection, again, you get back to these top halves in the comp and you look at the likes of Cleary, Johnson and Reynolds, who are probably the 3 going the best at the moment. And their timing with their pass selection and their long kicking game's been brilliant from especially Johnson and Reynolds over the last... Obviously, Cleary hasn't been around for a little bit, but the long kicking game out of those two have been fantastic for their sides.
Oh, and DCE.
Yeah,
had a fantastic year. Yeah. I think they're the 3, all Queenslanders. Actually, no, tell a lie. Reynolds isn't. But what you said earlier about you put Haas, Carrigan, and Reynolds into probably most bottom 8 teams, and they're making the top 8.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Tigers would walk in if they had Reynolds leading around the park, and Haas and Carrigan. Bulldogs would finish 9th.
Haas and Carrigan would
Dragons
lift
got work to
pretty
do.
much every team at least two or
Like
three
just
spots.
What
on
a
the
combo,
ladder.
and then you throw Walsh on top of it. Amazing.
But even just having those two in the middle of the field just frees up. Like
everyone else.
Even you could have your bog average half, but it's going to make him look
Doesn't
better.
matter. Yeah.
Because he's getting the ball off quick play, the ball's on dominant roll through the middle of the field. Yeah. More time, more space. Makes the job.
Super Saturday kicked off 36-18. The Roosters, we saw, would you call them the real Roosters?
Close.
We saw some good Roosters.
Roosters.
The better Roosters for half the game here. And they went back and packed up shop for a bit. But what did the stats say?
3 tries to 6, 3 out of 3 conversions, played 5 out of 6, 1 out of 1 penalty attempt for the Roosters. 83% completion for the Titans, 80% for the Roosters. 184 plus running metres for the Sydney side, 5 line breaks to 8, 34 tackle busts, played 35, 12 offloads to 14, 2 forced dropouts by the Roosters, 312 tackles, played 375, 7 errors to 9, 7 penalties conceded from both teams, 1 ruck infringement against the Titans, 4 against the Roosters, 3 inside the 10 against the Roosters. Tedesco with 134 Supercoach points, Egan Butcher with 113, and Chris Randall with 96 from the Titans.
So how much was this the real Roosters and how much was this Haas and Fafita out on an edge, looking at each other or falling over as Teddy and the Butchers and the Bakers just absolutely ran right on them?
A lot more direct from the Roosters. I don't think I've seen them play so direct this year, which made a massive difference to what they were doing. Cleary straightened up a little bit instead of going as sideways as he has done for the majority of the year, and I think that's come directly from the young fella who's playing halfback. To be honest, he's been a very, very direct half since he's come into their squad. Was it Smith? Is it Sandon Smith? He has been very direct. He's taken over a lot of the long kicking as well, which is helping Cleary out. I think keeping his legs under him for a little bit longer in the match, so he's not getting as leg weary towards the back end of games. Their forwards decided to really aim up through the middle, which was a big one for mine. I think they knew they had
Jared had a big game.
They knew they had the advantage through the middle, and they really poured it on through there.
Well, it was a one-man show on the other side.
Correct. And I think they knew that they had that advantage there, and they could take advantage of that. The Butcher boys on both edges caused all sorts of chaos with their direct line running as well. Running at the likes of young Huss and young Tino out there, they were left a little bit wanting, to be honest, especially in some of their defensive endeavours.
And young Fafita, Jojo, I mean.
Young Jojo. The Roosters just seemed to break tackles and break the line anytime they got the ball to the edge of the ruck. As we mentioned with those guys in there, in that first 50 minutes, they really targeted both of the Titans centres, which is probably not a bad ploy considering what we've seen in the past come out of the Roosters. Titans forwards were okay with the ball in their hand, but they're very soft in defence. Very good sign for the Roosters supporters, I thought, because they were well in control, shifting the ball to the edges much better than I've seen. Like the continuity between the passing for the Roosters, by far the best I've seen from them this year.
Yeah, that's really annoying.
What's that?
They'll probably make the 8.
Maybe.
Like they'll now just win the next 5 by 20, and we're just going, oh, here we go.
The Sharks and Parrot go out.
Boring.
Roosters make the 8. Quite possibly.
But they turned off second half, and some of their defence the second half wasn't particularly
absolutely. The first 50 minutes, they defended quite well. They were hitting and sticking in defence, which is something you haven't seen from them either. And they were, just seriously running flat and hard at the line, which was, Titans just couldn't cope with. It was pretty easy at the back end of it. Teddy got in off the back of all that, and he was, again, more direct than I've seen him play all year. Wasn't really worried about playing in the back line with that sweep play. He was just looking to support back on the inside and outside of players, and running those direct lines absolutely carved them to pieces and scored, he was the star every time that, the ball every time they seemed to get through the line, Teddy's head was popping around somewhere in and around the football. AJ and Kelly were the best of the back 5 for the Titans without being spectacular. Had some decent efforts there. David Fafita. Young Haas was okay. I thought he had a decent game, and so did Verrills again, who's been good since coming back from his injury. Mo and Randall were fantastic. They were the two best Titans players by a long way. We know your professions of love for Mo Fodawaker.
32 tackles, no missed, and 197 run metres.
Yeah, he was brilliant. He was absolutely their forward leader. And
62 post-contact metres.
Young Randall did a good job as well.
And he has done
the back of that.
He's done all year.
I don't know. There's definitely a spot for him there, but I think it's the 14 going forward.
Yeah.
Obviously with the full
Well,
side.
they've tried a few. The English bloke came and went.
Or
for
15, sorry, because you got Jaden Campbell.
They do, and Aaron Clark, I guess he's the perennial other bencher.
Yeah, he was awesome as well. He had a really good impact off the bench as well. So I think they're probably two blokes that you'd be setting on the bench with this Titans.
But it's tricky when you get all of a sudden you throw Jaden Campbell in. It's not a big bench.
No, that's right. They probably need another real big bopper in the likes of Yamo or Tino coming off the bench to give them a hand there. Whether young Hass or young Tino can young.
And then you got Wallace coming back.
Yeah. It's
no, you don't. He plays for the Dolphins, you
now.
dickhead. Who am I thinking of? They're missing another prop.
Someone's screaming at you right
now, telling
you who it is.
Yeah, sorry. Right in. No, dickhead I am. Have they signed someone? Who the fuck am I thinking of?
Not sure, mate.
It doesn't matter.
Both halves had some couple of nice touches for the Roosters without being dominant. Smith and Collins were very good. Best game Cheese has played this year by a long way.
Well, they started him. They pushed him out the edge, didn't they?
Yeah. And Collins was
back to bowling ball Cheese.
Collins was aggressive, and he was big bowling ball Collins as well.
And Jared led.
Jagged himself a nice try. Butchers were fantastic, and Jared was the leader of the forward pack by a long way. Manu and Suwali had some decent touches. They were a little flattered by some of the opposition they were running at, but they caused a lot of problems out wide. But it was the Teddy show.
Yeah, 3 to him.
Absolutely. Egan Butcher for mine got 2 first try score.
Yeah, and just the general work he does.
Barreling down the edge. I'm pretty sure he set up the Tedesco try with a nice break out there and ball back inside. And then it had to go to Jared.
Yeah. Well, I'm fine with that. It's quite interesting that they could end up in a week or two with a back row of Smith and Radley. Who saw that coming at the start of the year? But I think both on an edge is quite good. Get
Doesn't hurt.
Rolled up especially against your Titans and the
move
like
Nat
of the world.
Back into the middle. You reckon?
Yeah, and then just hammer both edges there. Because Victor's not the connecting player that
I think Egan needs to stay on
him
an
out
edge.
to be.
Nat could probably roll into the middle. Whether you play Cheese as that connecting player with the role that he played at Melbourne as that second,
been
13.
Okay. Brown hasn't been bad.
He's a little quiet in this one.
You got because he's got Slave Crichton, I suppose, still floating around somewhere. I don't know. Why didn't he play here? Is he injured?
Not sure. Good question.
I don't know. Anyway, let's. Are they on for the 8 here? Let's say run home. Let's
keep playing like that. They'll.
Well, this is why all of a sudden you're like, they're going to make the 8. They got Brisbane this week. Cracker. Seagulls, interesting. Dolphins, empty tank. Eels, they'll be done by then, so probably beat them. Tigers and Bunny, they could come down to play the Bunnies for that 8th spot. Sin bin Sunday again, eh?
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah. History,
interesting
as
game.
I say, history doesn't often repeat, but
history
doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. Anyway, the 5:30 game, the Knights, 26
of the weekend,
defeated the Storm 18. And I messaged Barn in front of the show, Dana, before the game and said, I've got a gut feeling that this could be a sneaky good game. And it turned out that way. So, Barn, you must be pretty impressed by my gut.
It is quite impressive. It is a sight to behold. No, it did turn into a sneaky good game. Storm probably let a few chances slip at the back end of the first half and the beginning of the second. But, 5 tries to the Knights, 3 to the Melbourne Storm, 2 out of 5 conversions, played 3 out of 3 for Melbourne, 1 out of 1 penalty attempt for Newcastle, 76% completion, played 80%, 8 line breaks for Newcastle, 4 for the Melbourne Storm, 45 tackle busts, played 36, 9 offloads to 8, 2 forced dropouts from Newcastle, 3 from the Melbourne Storm, 1 40-20 from Newcastle. couple of 40-20s this weekend really swung a bit of momentum.
Croker cracked out a good one there.
Absolutely did. 317 tackles from Newcastle, 307 from the Storm, 11 errors to 9, 6 penalties conceded to 7, 4 ruck infringements against the Knights, 1 against the Storm, and a sin bin for the Storm. Munster with 97 Supercoach points, Ponga with 96, Frizzell with 88.
Well, Melbourne are all over him for 20 minutes. We thought, oh, here we go.
20 minutes.
They were dominating. Looked like they could have had their way with Newcastle. And then we saw, as I said earlier, the best showing in 13 on 12 footy I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
4 tries in 10 minutes, was it? Did you?
Something
Yeah,
like
pretty
that.
much 4 tries in 10 minutes or 12 minutes, just after halftime. And that, you know what they did? Is they didn't panic. They didn't try to over-push the hand, but what they have is they've got a fantastic halfback that's great at going into the line and then drawing his opposition in. Then they've got Ponga outside him, who goes into the line and draws his 2 guys in.
Yep.
So there's an overlap coming anyway.
Right.
All of a sudden it's 2 on none, and they just went to that twice, and then the recipient of that is Bradman Best, who's going okay.
Going real good.
We're actually getting the Bradman Best we were probably promised, I guess, as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's grown another leg since Origin, and I guess you've got to give some kudos to Freddie for identifying it, because he's now created a monster. And
Hasn't he? What?
you throw in there Fitzgibbon, who is another fantastic. We wrapped the Warriors ones earlier, but another fantastic hole-running back rower, especially with someone who's Hastings, who can just hold that ball up enough to open the shoulder, and they closer, I should say.
It's what terrifies defences.
Yeah.
You've got a bloke holding the ball up and creating positional play, which is what he's really good at, getting a team to a spot on the field to set up their attacks. You've then got the lead man in Fitzgibbon, the sweep man in Ponga, and then you could even throw the long flat cutout to Bradman Best. You've got 3 options in the space of 3 defenders. You just got to start making decisions, and if you get it wrong,
but then if they get it wrong, Marzu's capable of throwing 3 blokes over the line and scoring anyway.
Yep, absolutely.
I've been critical of there's a lot of Newcastle as long as we've done this show, but when they're at their best, I really enjoy watching them play.
Gago had a couple of really nice touches here as well to put Young away down there on the opposite side of the field. Beautiful little tap on and a couple of nice runs into the line, drawing defenders and getting the ball out to Dominic Young. He's actually been quite good attacking-wise this year. Gago. Yeah, he's created a lot of opportunity. Defence has gone a little bit backwards.
The first 6 weeks, him and Frizzell we were screaming from the rooftops how well they're going.
And that's one of the good things about this. As you mentioned before, they didn't panic. They just set up straight back to Frizzell. They just go straight back to Frizzell or a front rower through the middle of the field.
And we'll start again.
Hit an edge of a post, and then they go back to the left, or go to the left and then they come back to the right. And that's got a lot to do with the calming influence of Hastings, and it's going, no, we need to go 1-2 and then fire our shots, not just swinging the ball from left to right.
It breaks my heart to see what he's done for this side, because he could have done a good job at another club, but I'm so happy for him, and he's now showing the worth that he can bring to a club, and it's taken a while to get there, but they've had lots of moving pieces around him, Lockie Miller and co.
Yep.
But they've now found the right balance, and
I think
they're a scary side, and I think they can almost beat. I think they can score 26-30 against anyone if they all fire. It's keeping 26-30 out.
Their defence has to click to be able to hold out the better team.
And there are games where, therefore, they just get thrown around.
Absolutely. I think the worst thing to happen for Melbourne was the 2 soft tries to begin the game. Like, realistically, the meaty one was just pick up and run and scramble from a drop ball that, and then clears out and runs away from everybody. And then the second try, from memory, there wasn't a great deal to it either. There wasn't a well-constructed try. It was just sort of get the ball to a position, and there was points there. That really fired Newcastle up. The whole mentality switched, and they went from just
it's cold over there.
doing their jobs to actually firing up and trying to hurt people and get some aggression into their football. And they
yes, they're right. Yeah, don't worry about it. Say hi to everyone. we're recording Footy and Frothies podcast. Footy and Frothies. Yeah.
It is
you can find
regularly,
us on
yes.
Footy and Frothies. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, anywhere good podcasts are found, yeah? Footy and Frothies, yeah. We're going to have a sign at some point. It'd be really cool. You might have, though. I know, a sign. Yeah, I know. Well, I'm working on it. Yeah. I had to speak to... Yeah, Rugby League.
Yeah, we're here every week.
Ad, who's going to win the comp? Yeah. Who's going to win the comp? Who do you follow? Sorry about that.
As I mentioned, the effort in defence really came through from the Knights after those first 2 tries. They decided that they needed to make an effort and put some sting into their defence, and they actually started smacking a few of these, smacking a few of these Storm players, and they were a bit reluctant to continue to go back through the middle. I thought they kept Nelson quiet for a big part of the game, which was obviously big kudos to Newcastle. Some lovely tries. I mentioned the tap on from Gagai, the best charge just straight through his opposition centre and then flick it out to Marzu to score in the corner.
This game showed, exposed all our concerns about Melbourne this year. From if you go back to our preview show, this exposed everything we talked about.
Yeah, keep
the
Nelson
forward pack can
quiet.
be boss. You stop Nelson. The edges, if you really hammer them, get a good centre, and it's like it was just all on show here.
Yep. Then Newcastle got a bit of confidence and started really tossing the ball around as well. They're going from edge to edge, as well as going through the middle to get into the right positions. But they started to put lots of issues into them. There was a couple of turning points I thought towards the end of the game. Eisenhuth, there was a break down the right hand side. I think it was Remy Smith got the ball back into Eisenhuth, and then 4 of them hit him and dragged him straight over the sideline.
Yeah.
30 metres out from their own goal line, they get the ball, go back down the other end and start putting pressure on Melbourne. The 40-20 was another massive part in the game where they're in a bit of trouble and they just kick the 40-20 and it changes all the pressure and the momentum of the play and get back down the other end because Melbourne were sort of coming towards that last 15 minutes of the game and starting to put some pressure on Newcastle. And in that last sort of 20 minutes, they were 2 big turning points, I thought, from Newcastle to sort of swing the momentum and hold up Melbourne for a bit.
It was a funny second half, and obviously not much happened, but for about half of it, it just felt like Melbourne were never going to win the game, and it felt like they were going to win 36-26, and then once the momentum died off again, they didn't know how to get back, and
there was a couple of nice goal line defensive attempts from Newcastle as well. They stopped,
and they're up for it. They were
Melbourne
up
on the line.
for it. And the bloke on a wrap on that is Phoenix Crossland because you go back to that game, they got absolutely
wiped, and they just targeted
and we
him.
said, he got hooked, and we thought he got hooked. And no, that was Kurt Mann. Sorry.
Yes, it was Kurt.
But he wasn't far behind, and I reckon the last month he's been outstanding. He's really owned the dummy half. He's making 50 tackles a game. I don't know what he made here.
They rushed Hughes a lot. He was 50 again, I'm pretty sure. They rushed Hughes a lot, which forced him into error a few times. They made a big point of trying to get up and giving no real meters to the forwards, so they're trying to hit them as quickly as possible once they got the ball. You saw a few errors in the middle of the field where just the rushing defence sort of caught them off guard and the ball went down. And, Newcastle, got to give it to them, man. They dug in and did what a few of the other teams this week just didn't want to do and get rough and ready in the middle of the field. And, I thought they was probably should have won by more, really.
Yeah. And just so impressed, and their attacking side, and I can't give a bigger rap than I look forward to watching Newcastle games now, and I've always hated it. So
and you mentioned Bradman Best, man. He's been
he's now I said, he's the one we were promised when he was 18. We're like,
belting blokes with the ball in his hand.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be much fun to tackle, I wouldn't imagine. Meany was decent. Liero and King were probably the best of the beaten forward pack. Munster was easily the Storm's best player. He was very good. Got them in all their opportunities. The back five for Newcastle were all good, very good. there wasn't a bad player in that back five for the Newcastle team. Hastings and Crossland were fantastic. They really controlled the middle of the field in attack and defence. The Fitzgibbon and Frizzell were awesome on the edges. They caused no end of problems for for the Melbourne Storm, and Ponga was the guy who basically made the points flow when they got into positions. He was the one creating the line breaks and the try assists and all that kind of stuff. So I had Ponga with 3. I gave Frizzell 2, and I had to give Munster the 1. I thought in a beaten team he was fantastic, but
I had Hastings. I had Ponga, Hastings, and Frizzell / best.
I almost gave Frizzell the
But I just
man of the
only
match, to be honest.
because I think you look at it, and we'll get to this next game or this next game. I think just the calmness that he brings to Newcastle is such key to what they've done especially last couple of weeks, but all season. Because another team, we saw a little bit Souths, they freak out and they try and get the ball to Ponga, and Ponga's trying to throw cutouts and this, that, and the other. Whereas he just gets them through their gears. Great, we've got the time. If we get in this, if you engage him, we're sweet here.
I'd be happy to give him the 1. Give Hastings the 1. I thought Frizzell was brilliant on that right.
Yeah, and Frizzell had an amazing
30-odd tackles, line breaks, line break assists.
I don't know, but like Frizzell, if we were, and maybe we'll do it just for something to do, if we were to pick a team of the year, each of us, Frizzell would be close to second row of the year.
Close to it.
I don't know how he's going to get. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be in the Daggy points because I don't know what back rows we generally give points to, but.
No,
but what he produced, but he's having as good a year as he's had since what is St George heyday, or he's
Well, it's 6-7 years ago when he was. But he's been close to their best player all year.
Oh, easy.
And
he came out of the gates that way.
He's done it for a decade at St George as well.
But it's like he had a point to prove this year.
Teams
like and people whinge about him. He deserved his origin spot.
He did,
and he's continuing it. So I'm fine. Okay, we'll go with that. Ponga, Frizzell, Hastings. Clean sweep for the Knights there. Then we got 24-16. The Cowboys established a lead, and then Parra's 2 best players eventually got something a bit right to the back end, but didn't really feel in danger. What did the stats say, Barn?
Cowboys clocked off. Another team that clocked off for the last 20 minutes, I think. 4 tries to 3, 3 out of 4 conversions, played 2 out of 3 for Parramatta, 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for the Cowboys. 85% completion, played 69 for Parramatta, 98 plus run metres for the Parramatta side. 8 line breaks to 4, 40 tackle busts to 38, 6 offloads to 31 offloads from Parramatta.
That's insane. And that's the record. I think that's the record this year by like 20 or something.
Yeah, right.
They were raving about Ganane. We had Ganane and Anderson again in this game, but they were raving about it.
1 forced dropout to 0, 316 tackles played, 322, 10 errors to 12. 4 penalties conceded to 8, 3 ruck infringements from both teams, 1 inside the 10 against the Cowboys, and a sin bin for the Cowboys. Supercoach points. Yeah. Drinkwater 122, Gutherson with 115, Velame with 79.
So we saw exactly what to do when you've got the man advantage in Newcastle game, and then we got to watch Parramatta show you exactly what not to do when you have the man advantage game. And I think the easiest way to sum it up is that calmness is not part of Parramatta's vocabulary.
No.
And we've said that for 2 or 3 years now, but they are the most frantic team in the comp. They think it has to be points now or never, and it cost them the game. It really cost them the game. They had the chance to do it, but outside of, and that's just, and I think that's a reflection of it's the Gutho and Moses show, and they're too busy whinging and thinking Eric
but where do they play their best footy, generally? Gutherson and Moses. Just on the edge, coming back through the middle of the field.
But they just thought
where do you want to focus when you've got a man short? You want to pound the shit out of the middle of the field for 3 or 4 tackles and then take your opportunities out wide when you've compressed the defence up.
Have Gutho wrap around, and all of a sudden you've got an untouched winger. It was all just, let's get out.
It was side to side, edge to edge, edge to edge. Blokes dropping balls with forced passes, inside balls that were thrown at people's feet, kick options that were horrible with a man down. They, as you mentioned, they showed you exactly how not to play with the man advantage in that period. But
anyway, what happened first, though, is Cowboys got a nice lead and looked very impressive in doing so.
Absolutely.
What do you make of the first half of this game?
Yeah, I think the scoreboard flattered the Eels overall. I thought the Cowboys were on top for a large part of this game, and they just couldn't put them away for whatever reason. There's a bit of, I think they got a bit frantic at times too once they started to get out to a bit of a lead. But First try of the game, Dearden with a lovely run. It's just straight across the field, across the face of about 3 different blokes. Dummies being thrown left, right and centre. More dummies out there than what was being spat out at the Cronulla Sharks football field by the supporters.
You mean your garage, Barney?
Oh, there were some dummy spits in my garage. Don't worry about that.
I like that this, like, you're a changed man in 2 weeks. 25,000 minutes, David. Come on. At least you've seen a comp in that time. Or won a comp in that time.
Drinkwater with a beautiful cutout pass for Valemay to score. He's been absolutely beast mode since he's come into this team. He's added a massive... considering what you used to see from Kyle Feld out there, he could jump for a ball, but would constantly get knocked into...
or getting hurt.
Constantly getting knocked into touch, dropping balls. Valemay has been a big upside for this side since he's come in there. It looked like it might be a demolition 10, 12 minutes into this game because Cowboys were well on top. Nice little work between, as you mentioned, Moses and Gutho to put Russell over in the corner. There's some massive hits in this game of footy. Nanai absolutely folded somebody in half. We may as well get to the sin bin now because, in my opinion, there's no way in the world that's a sin bin.
The worst thing that happened is they went to that angle first.
But they didn't show another one either.
An old mate made his decision off one angle, and then straight away they showed the other one. He missed his head
show
by
it
2
from the back. The ball hits his shoulder hits the ball.
If Val had lined him up the way he did, ran and hit him the way he did,
he'd be in hospital.
He'd be in hospital still in traction.
Yeah.
But then if he was that
left,
injured,
he'd have a broken
why
jaw.
the fuck wasn't he sent for HIA?
That's pathetic.
And
how
this
he
has
didn't
actually
go for
happened.
HIA.
This is and I'm sure there's people screaming at me saying I'm biased because Buller gave the old wink and a nudge, laying on the ground.
Well, you have a look at. There's one in the Sharks game as well.
But
with Jake Taborovic.
if they're going to bin him for direct forceful contact to the head, then the bloke should go. Like it should be,
especially with the explosion that was.
Yeah,
the bloke sprinted at him from fucking 20 metres away.
He'd be seen. He'd still be seen.
Cleaned him up. He got the shits because he dropped the ball and fucking whinged about a penalty when he knew that he didn't get fucking cleaned up. Because if he did, he'd be unconscious and missing teeth and a broken jaw. The ball his shoulder hit the bottom of the ball, which was a good couple of inches into below his chin in the middle of his sternum. And then his head snaps down onto the shoulder. Like, how's that got anything to do with a bad hit from Val Holmes? It was ridiculous.
And then every other angle was conclusively the other way. But old mate went off the first angle and said, "There's whiplash. It must be in the bin." And if it was hit that hard, Moses would have blown up about going. If they'd said,
you wouldn't have been able to do anything.
If they'd HIA'd Moses, he would have complained the whole way off and said, "Oh, I didn't touch my head, sir." And they should have.
Absolutely.
If you're going to stay down and do it, they should go to the bin.
And it wasn't just those two hits. Like, there was a good 20, 30-minute period here where the Cowboys were absolutely belting Parramatta.
And this is a team
just about every time they touched the ball.
15 couldn't fucking hit anyone.
No.
Couldn't knock the...
But they were lining blokes up and just absolutely belting them like they owed them money. Fucking just bashing blokes left, right and centre.
Nano's really made a point of it this year. Unfortunately, he's injured, but he's come back and really been physical.
Waka Blake back to the form of defending 15 metres off his wing, which we did for Shadow.
Didn't everyone know that was going to happen?
Oh, mate, he was as interested in staying on his wing as I was at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning when I lined up to see the Barbie show, the Barbie movie.
Have you watched that, have you?
I went on Saturday morning.
How'd it go?
There's a lot of
Is it
political
woke as fuck?
rubbish, yeah.
That's
There's
all
a
I
lot
hear.
of political rubbish
I have
in
no
it.
opinion.
There was a bit of, there's some fun and stuff for the kids at the start of it, but yeah.
Is it a kids' movie? To me, I watch
really.
every training and go, I don't really want to take my kids.
Not really, no. There's a bit of fun and there's some historics and the old Barbies that came through and all the rest of it, and there's a couple of jokes here and there, but yeah, it's very much a political statement by the time you get to the end of it.
You know what's funny though, and is the Barbie Dreamhouse cartoon is genuinely hilarious. You ever watched it? Like, it's genuinely funny as fuck. It is actually great.
Yeah, I do watch
if
that.
If they just made it like the one with the Stacey in it, that is fucking funny if you just watch as an adult. If they just gone down that tone of taking a piss, it would have been a great movie.
Was a bit of it.
I haven't seen the movie, so...
But yeah, it just turns into a big fucking...
Anyway, Barbie Life in a Dream House. Good cartoon. Go and watch it.
It becomes highly recommended from my little one.
It's fantastic. It's not bluey, but it's all right.
No.
It's funny.
But yeah, that's about as excited as I was. Is him staying on his wing. Where was I? I've lost my place. Paulo and Lane were decent.
Paulo's good.
Hands.
Cartwright was good.
Yeah, I'll get to him.
No, sorry.
He was their best. Or close to their best. Gutho was probably their best.
Yeah.
But Margot Robbie in a swimsuit.
Easy to do. Yeah.
Hands was very good. He's going quite well.
He's going quite well. He's got a job now. So it's good.
Matto, good as well, in the middle of the field.
Joffa was good too.
Hopgood was fantastic. He stood there and watched Drinkwater run past him.
It takes a while to get the tiger, to get the black and gold out of your blood. Right?
Penasini, good ball in hand, as we always say. Gutherson and Cartwright I thought were their best players. Cartwright was fantastic again.
Yes, he was.
Aggressive, doing all the grunt work that he didn't do for 6 or 7 years, which he copped a whole heap of shit for. And Gutherson was just everywhere when they needed him.
It was amazing what happened.
Probably
when you
needed him a few more times, but no comment. All the forwards for the Cowboys were very good. At least decent. Hess and Leilua were there, probably the best of the forwards. The halves were good. They both chipped in for some nice work there. I mentioned there before the Chad Townsend, what the fuck am I doing? Hop, skip, and an inside ball for Drinkwater to score underneath the post. While two blokes stood there and watched him. Was one of the highlights. Val was fantastic. Velamay cashed in and was very good again. Hiku cashed in as well. did have to do some hard work, but fuck, he did it well.
He had a good season, Hiku. I mean, he had a great season last year too, but he had a good season, Hiku.
Drinkwater was amazing.
He's pretty good.
Drinkwater's going to get close to the Dally M, I would imagine, by the end of this season if he keeps going the way he's going.
Him and SJ.
He's just been getting 2 or 3 points every week recently.
Well, and as we've said, he is them. It's where it all rotates, and they. Life in a dream house, everyone.
3 points for Drinkwater,
Yeah,
2 points for Gutherson, and then I either had Cartwright, Val or Hiku for the one.
It's going to sound weird. Yeah, no, give it a Cartwright. Give it a Cartwright. I think he was fantastic, and in a losing effort.
Yeah,
very good.
You know, Cowboys
best thing that happened to Cowboys, Luciano coming back, changed everything.
Been fantastic
really did
for him. Yeah, yes. And Tamalalo had some good input into this one too. The big body through the middle of the field.
Got 2 runs in off the bench.
There was 3 or 4 runs there where he was back to carrying 3 and 4 blokes for 5 or 10 metres with him.
I think it was like his first run.
Yeah.
He was like, he's back. That's him.
That's him.
Hurting some people as well.
All right, press your button.
That's what they need. Sunday afternoon kicked off at Bluebet's, a sold-out Bluebet Stadium, where Penrith apparently have 5 of the next 6 games. So
right.
Yeah, they're not any danger, are they?
No.
44-18. Penrith are the best team in the comp, and the Bulldogs aren't.
Correct. 8 tries to 3, 6 out of 8 conversions played 3 out of 3, 80% completion played 81%, 113 plus run metres and 99 plus post contact metres for the Penrith side. 9 line breaks to 5, 57 tackle busts played 44. They'd be unhappy with 44 tackle busts against the Dogs. 8 offloads to 11, 1 forced dropout provided by the Penrith side. 305 tackles played 324, 8 errors to 5, 9 penalties conceded to 10. 1 ruck infringement against both sides, 10 inside the 10 against Penrith, 1 against the Bulldogs. Brian To'o with 104 Supercoach points, Yo and Luai on 91. Then you had 2 other Penrith players before you got to Skelton on 81.
I think for the last 2 months, Bulldogs are conceding nearly 45 points a game on average, which is something.
Their middle.
Well, they've got no middle.
The middle gets blown apart every week.
There is no middle. Poor old Max King.
No, got Carraz defending in the centres when he's a winger. Has never done it before.
They've tried to turn Ockenbore into it's. They might have the second worst roster in the comp with injuries. With some of the best players. And I hate to say it, but I think Dragons have the worst. And I would suggest the Wooden Spooners have a better roster than both, but
going to end up with a wooden spoon by the looks of it.
Jared, not Jared. the other angry Kiwi? Fish. Fish made a point of being angry Kiwi in this game.
Absolutely.
He was in the first half. He just said, "You know what? I'm going to have a crack today," because he was taking double 2-3 hit ups a set.
20, 30
in that
metres.
First, I think he had 150 metres in the first 20 minutes or something. And was waiting for more. Really had a crack, laid the foundation for this, but he wasn't alone here. Where do you even want to start with wrapping Penrith blokes?
Oh, how much can you break it down, really? Like Penrith complete, out of control. Cleary on return looks sharp. The ball just seems to flow so much better when Cleary's in that team. Like it gets from one edge to the other so much easier than when you've got the likes of Cogger in there. Like, don't get me wrong, he's done a brilliant job filling in recently while Cleary's been out, but the ball just zings across the field so much better when Cleary's involved. Then the outside backs get to have a field day, realistically. The players just seem to know they can run wherever the hell they want, because Nathan will hit them on the chest.
Yeah.
It'll either hit them on the chest with the lead ball, or it'll go behind them, and the bloke behind them will benefit from wherever the ball's. They just know that they can basically run whatever line they want, hit whatever hole they want, and it's up to Cleary which one of his men that he hits. And it's a big part of breaking apart defences. Like, you see that some of these teams we mentioned before, Cody Walker, you see the Sharks, especially in the first half of the game that they played against Manly, they're not providing enough options for their halves. Like, you've got one runner on the outside, so it's either the half's going to get smashed or the bloke who's running one out on his own, on his outside, is going to get belted. Yeah. And that's what happens. When you see different teams like Penrith with Critter cutting back on the inside, Liam Martin running that hard line on the outside, and then someone floating around the back, there's 3 different options in 3 different parts of the field, and it's just so hard to defend against. And it lets... They have to hold back. You can't go charging out on a halfback when he's got 3 different options to pick at any different time, and then you throw the kick in as well, so there's your 4th option.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just, you can't...
And he's not bad at running the ball either.
You can't... Well, there you go. There's a 5th option. And there's 5 different opportunities for him to cause you pain, and you charging out at him may take one of his options away, but there's still 4 others there. Like, you just can't do it. And it's a whole setup of a team mentality of the way that they structure their attack around their playmaker. And if you're not giving him enough opportunities, your outside men just get picked off, or the half gets belted. That's what you're seeing with some of these teams that were going quite well in attack earlier in the year and now have limited options with what they've got going on outside.
Because everyone, if we can sit here and drink 8 beers and work it out, I'm pretty sure blokes pay to do it.
Yes.
Have half an idea.
Well, half of them do.
Well, they could pay us to do
half
it.
of them might not. But it's just that so many different options that you're providing your half. It makes it so much better. Yeah. And they get good, clean ball. Penrith forwards feasted on the Bulldogs pack, just absolutely dined out on them, ran straight through the middle of them, cleaned them up, had 2 and 3 blokes on their back as they ran past them. And then, like most blokes after a massive feed, went and had a lie down for the last 20 minutes and had a sleep and just missed the back end of this game.
Yeah.
That's like Penrith absolutely clocked off in the last 20 minutes. Bulldogs, to their credit, kept fighting. They fought all the way through the game. They just don't have the roster to hang with pretty much anyone in the top 8, let alone the team that's going better than anyone at the moment. They didn't give up. They kept coming. But, yeah, it's one of the best teams against one of the worst teams in the comp. You can't say much else. Crichton, Tuo had an absolute field day out there. They were just picking apart the outside edges.
He's broken field stuff.
And you forget about, because he does so much tough shit coming out of his own end. You just forget how good he is when he gets into broken space.
The one he set up for Crichton, the one he set up for Crichton, the one he just, broken field, he feet, happy days for Tuo there. He got to, made the break, put Crichton through, came back through and scored.
Quick as, footwork for a little bloke, strong as.
But you can't have a half-ass kick chase with them because they're just going to burn you.
That's exactly what happened here. Yeah. Was it Edwards busted through, put 2-0 away, and then, Crichton scored. Mm. Oh, no, 2-0 scored that one. But
2-0 scored, but there's the other one with Crichton. Crichton had a quietish game for him.
Mm. But was still much better than most of the back 5 for the Bulldogs.
There wasn't a bad play. Peachy looked like a world beater again.
Absolutely. I think that had a little bit to do with Kira's being pretty undecisive out there in defending in the centres, which is not his go.
No.
He's a winger out and out.
Alamote won't be there next year. They'll
Wouldn't think so. It
cut
doesn't
ties,
look like it.
which is sad for where we thought he was going to end up. But I said he's not Bradman best. I'm just looking for the 20 here. There's generally 8 blokes that won't be there next year.
Averillo with some really nice pace and deception at the back end of the game. But he seems to be the only one that's providing...
He's their only hope.
providing points for him at the moment, apart from a Burton Bolm or a barge over. Skelton with a lovely jump up and over to score some points. They dragged some back, but yeah, it was that was more Penrith switching off than the Dogs.
I know that apparently it was Crook and whatever else, but there's a thing where you don't sort of weaken your strengths, and to move Reid either to the bench or to an edge.
If he's Crook, don't play him. Like seriously.
Yeah, it's I don't, maybe they only had 20 blokes, maybe because there were a couple other late withdrawals, but. It starts getting weird, and it's like when you start getting weird, and I know like I said I follow a team that gets weird. It's
well, he basically played him as a 7 when he did come on,
and
as
then
well.
he played first and second receiver. Yeah. Played in it because
and they pushed Flanagan into 9.
Flanagan, don't tell me Flanagan won't have the Dragons next year. He'll have the Dragons. They'll move.
Well, the Sullivan's
going,
so
he'll have his spot. Apparently, he's going to the Tigers allegedly.
Yeah, okay. No.
Like everyone else that's connected
Wouldn't
to
surprise me if he ends up with his old man down at the Dragons.
And he's not about like,
yeah.
He'll play 14 there.
I thought Averillo, Kiraz and Skelton were very good for the Dogs. Flanagan, Burton were okay. Max King was very good, the only forward that really decided to have a crack back at this Penrith pack, to be honest, which is disappointing considering you had the likes of Tavenga Pangai Jr. there who really didn't want anything to do with to get taken on this
clutch plays
this Penrith pack.
Tavita anymore.
Yeah, Max King's the only forward worth mentioning. Luai and Cleary both strong. Fish, Lindsay Smith again had really good impact off the bench. He's turning into a very handy first grader. Edward Sorensen were very, very good. Sorensen
great
again.
Back row. Sorensen's fantastic. He's a good player.
Absolutely killing it on that left edge.
My only regret in this game was I didn't have a same game multi because it would have had Sorensen.
I did, and I missed out because I fucking put Taruva in there, and he didn't see the ball all night. I expected him to at least just catch one and fall over. But anyway, Isaiah Yeo and Brian Toto were brilliant. I thought Yeo was the man of the match. He was brilliant in the middle of the field.
Okay.
Again, just doing all that clean-up shit that nobody else wants to get involved in.
We didn't have to do a lot of clean-up.
No, there's still those tackles where they're fucking... he's still the bloke coming across
get the dustpan out.
Okay, well, he made a lot of tackles, all right?
Yeah, right.
Got involved with the linking between the Cleary and the backs, and very strong ball in hand as well. So I gave 2 points. Brian Tyler was brilliant. I love seeing him play. He's just... actually, the man of the match should have been the try celebration between Liam Martin.
Well, yeah, his Kama Sutra cracker. What was that?
It's Blades...
Is it?
That's
I just assumed it was
ice skating movie with Owen Wilson and...
Kama Sutra number 43 or something.
What is it? Blazing...
The wheelbarrow.
It's the ice skating movie with Owen Wilson and...
Sorry, I had 17th real one. I can't say it.
Who's the other bloke that was in that? Owen Wilson and the other bloke.
Dickhead from Will what's his name? Fucking Talladega Nights.
Yeah, the ice skating movie.
Yeah, I know it is. I thought it was Kama Sutra 43. So there you go, the wheelbarrow. Try it, everyone. Lots of fun. I have sore arms after.
Had Joe with 3, Toto with 1, and 2, and I gave Cleary 1.
The wheelbarrow suplex, they call it, or suplex in French. I had 3 for 2 because I can.
Yeah, no, we'll do that.
I had Fisher Harris for 2, and I had Luai for points because I thought Luai was really good in this game.
Wow.
He really, I'm a changed man.
Little grubber,
but he benefited from Nathan being back, freed him up, and also playing reserve grade helped.
Right, let's go with yours.
No, Yo and Luai.
Fish
How's that?
or Luai?
No, Fish needs to get points. Call in. 2-0, Fish, Yo.
Okay.
But for the record, Luai. Good game. Having a good month, Luai, since he got dropped. And then we had 30-26. Manly and the Sharks. Apparently it was a 30-point win, Barn. So
30-point win.
Wind.
Oh, wind,
Wind, yeah.
Looked like it. I don't know how there was, and it was running into the wind.
It was into the wind.
Both teams scored fucking 20+ points running into the wind, and not 1 point was scored at the other end of the field. Yeah. Why both teams didn't kick long early, I don't know, because the ball was absolutely careering to that right-hand side of the field. I just thought it would be a lay-down misere that every second set you'd just be, if you're in your own 40, just fucking go for the 40-20. But nobody did, except for Croker that one time, which was a bit of a momentum swing because the Sharks were sort of starting to put on a bit of pressure, and then the 40-20 came and changed up things a little bit there. But we had 5 tries to 6, 3 out of 5 conversions, played 3 out of 6, 82% completion from both teams, 75+ post-contact metres for the Manly side, 7 line breaks to 8, 24 tackle busts to 26. There must have been a lot of fucking missed tackles because there must have just been like complete blokes not putting hands on people.
Sometimes
this was 50 tackle busts to 50. This was 50 missed tackles to 50 missed tackles. Yeah. 9 offloads to 12, a 40-20 for Manly, 356 tackles played, 315, 10 errors to 11, 9 penalties conceded to 11. 1 ruck infringement to 4, 1 inside the 10 to 0. Kennedy with 111 Supercoach points. DCE with 109. Toto Kula with 109. Here we go again.
So they changed all the personnel, right? Yeah. And then Manly just went straight at the same hole, and it still was like this gaping crevice that they could have driven the QE2 through. Their edge defence was terrible here. Cronulla, defend it, Barney. Well, they couldn't, so someone's got to.
Well, two of the tries came from bounce of the ball. Like, let's be serious. Nico, any other day of the week, cleans that ball up, and it's a line drop out. They probably come and score the next set, but that try doesn't eventuate. And the other one with the chip over from Schuster, and the ball just bounces back at 90 fucking degrees straight into Hamole Olakawadu's chest, and all he has to do is fall over and score.
But then DCE had Cooler on a string there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Walking over untouched, and both sides.
But that also came from blokes panicking. That was directly from Trindle over chasing, not making the tackle, and then you're left with fucking all sorts of problems outside.
There's times when you watch Cronulla and they don't know whether to spread or jam.
Yeah.
And every time they jam, there's points.
Well, Mulatano never wants to jam, so that's part of the problem already. So he wants to stick on his wing.
Yeah.
Then you've got Talakai, who last week was jamming, and Moylan, who was sitting back.
Yeah.
This week it was the other way around. It was Trindle trying to jam in, and then it was Tracy standing back. Tracy's not big enough to stand back. Tracy needs to jam with Trindle.
Yeah.
But they weren't working together, which caused, I think it's only credited as 9 missed tackles, but it could have been anywhere upwards of 25 to 30 missed tackles in that first 50 minutes of this game. Tracy got ragdolled realistically in this game. The likes of Olakawatu running at him. Kula was just too big and strong for him. That leads to me to think that Talakai comes back next week, which wouldn't surprise me. I hope Moylan doesn't come back, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back as well. I'd much rather see Trindle there because his one-on-one defence wasn't that bad. It was more just his decisions.
Is he a panicker? Like, will he just bring them all back and say, well, you've had your week in reserve? They probably played for Newtown and won 400-0. I haven't looked. Someone will write and go, your Daggy hasn't even done his research.
Tracy got physically dominated for mine, so I think he probably has to. But we'll see. The Sharks, the problem with the Sharks wasn't even their defence, realistically. It was a complete and utter disrespect of the fucking football.
But isn't this been the problem?
Yes, it has been their problem for the majority of the year. But they compounded it in this one. First 3 tries from Manly come directly from an error down at Manly's end, followed by a penalty 2 tackles later, which let Manly kick down and be 40 metres out or 30 metres out and then just set up their attacks. Like, it happened 3 times in the first 3 tries. It was an error followed directly by a penalty, 40 metres, 50 metres change of field position, and then you allow the opposition to apply pressure. There was a 20-minute period where the Sharks didn't seem to touch the fucking ball. I think they touched it twice, and they dropped it both times they touched it. And Manly just kept scoring tries. And we'd kick it back to them, and they'd score it. We'd give away a penalty. They'd come down our end. They'd score again. Like, what do you say? It was absolutely horrendous. Their professionalism was fucking horrendous in the first 40 minutes of this game. They didn't deserve to win this game. They got close enough, and they probably should have at the back end of the game with the fact that Kennedy could have thrown a pass or kicked out to Mulatalo,
6 or 2 overlap,
out to the left, and he kicks back to the middle for himself. But you can't bag that Blake because he's the only reason we got close. Because Nico was throwing hospital ball after hospital ball to the second rowers that were getting belted. Because as I mentioned before, there's no other real option for him when he's going into the line.
24,960 minutes, Barney. Welcome to my world.
No, but you saw how good, the Sharks when they're on, they provide 3 and 4 different options for their halfback.
I think Wilton is
they haven't been doing it for a long
piece
time.
Of a puzzle.
They're just relying on Nikora.
But then Nico does the thing where he wanders and he wanders and he wanders, and then he's a little bit Teddy-ish. He wanders around and then, and in fairness, he looked good because Kennedy chimed in the
second half,
second half, and straightened him a little bit, and that's what happened. But
the amount of times he gave that young fellow Calhoun fucking the death ball on the line and just watched him get smashed in the first half because he didn't have any other options and didn't know what was going on, so he'd just throw the short ball out of order. And they didn't go to Nikora on the other side. Yeah. They kept going to the left and getting this young fella getting absolutely belted and dropping balls, and Nico just seems to panic. And when he doesn't know exactly what's going on, he'll just throw the short ball or he'll just kick for the sake of kicking. And it's.
Is it the worst idea to try and do it again but have Trindle 7, Nico 6?
I think that's the way they should play. That's the way I said it before the ball was kicked this year, that I expected them to line up. And I don't understand why they haven't given it a go, to be honest.
Well, long term, if they're both going to be at the club, one of them, realistically, they've got to get their shit together.
And for a bloke that likes to wander from one side of the field to the other, that's a perfect opportunity
that's
for a
point,
6. Yeah. Especially, and he gets it a bit deeper. He gets it with a little bit more time.
Let him kick as much as he kicks. Yeah, he can do what he has to do. But put him that pair wider, pair him up with a Nikora.
That 3 or 4 steps back, gives him that fraction more time before the defence is in his face.
And opens him up to potentially break a hole himself.
Gives him less option to be able to jam him like the way they have done recently in the opposition defences. So, I'm very surprised it hasn't happened earlier, to be honest. But
you know who's good at halfbacking?
Who's that?
Daly Cherry Evans.
Yes.
He was pretty good in this game too.
Did a lot of very good kicking. As you mentioned, had Cooler on a string out on that right-hand edge. Jake was very good through the middle of the field. There was a couple of opportunities where they sort of made a half break and Jake was the one grabbing the jersey or grabbing a leg and bringing somebody down to stop that. Yes. Different day, Sharks possibly win. There was, as I mentioned, the 2
Manly
tries.
Are specialists for the 10-minute clock off. And as you say, if Kennedy just throws a ball left instead of kicks it, they win the game. You're kicking to win the game.
But as I mentioned before, with the Nico drop that went straight back to Croker to score, there was the bounce off the chip kick that went straight to Olakau'atu. There's also that flick pass from Saab that on another day goes over someone over everybody's head. No, it was fine. It was all good. There was 2 forward pass calls that another day could have been tries, but what do you do? They got fucking beaten. They don't deserve to be in the 8 playing the way that they're playing.
Well, this is a question.
I'd be much happier if they don't make the 8, to be honest, so I don't have to watch them get absolutely shredded in a fucking final if they're going to keep playing this way. The defence this year has been horrendous compared to what they put up last year. Yeah. And they probably deserve to be hanging on by a thread, to be honest.
Why?
They've had... I said from the start of the year they're missing a couple of big bodies in the middle of the field, and they've had 2 and 3 blokes out at a time as well. Yeah, like Hunt's been missing for big parts. Rudolph's been missing. Uele's
Wade
been
Graham
missing.
Rested. Will he be rested forever now?
Toe, possibly.
God bless him, mate.
They've missed Uele, Rudolph, and Hunt for a big part of this year, and they're the 3 biggest bodies they've got, and they're still not big enough. They still need another guy in there. Oregon Fusi probably hasn't lived up to what we expected out of him. Yeah. Hazelton's been good when he's been there, but he doesn't get enough minutes realistically for mine. So the middle of their toughest forward at the moment is Cameron McGuinness. Well, and he's the smallest bloke they got. Yeah. He's not much bigger than Blake Brayley.
Even the try he scored was reflective of the effort he puts in. But he carried them through a large chunk.
And
of this
Dale's at the back. Like Dale is gone.
Yeah.
Like realistically, he still goes out and puts in heaps of effort.
Yeah, but he's not tall.
He's not the same player as he was. And,
say something positive about Manly.
Well, realistically, they were just as bad as the Sharks in that second half.
Yeah.
With their defence. We mentioned how good their attack was. Ruben Garrick's fantastic for them at fullback. He's just effort upon effort. He's always in and around the ball and creating problems. His kicking wasn't great, but neither was Nico's from that side.
Well,
the wind was just blowing it straight across the field, wasn't it?
Forgive that.
It was ridiculous. But Lachlan Croker, brilliant.
Was slightly flattered, but you got to be good enough to take advantage of that. Yeah, he really owned that edge there. Yeah.
Lachlan Croker was brilliant again. He's now you've now got to start talking about him looking around that top 5 hookers at the moment. His recent form's been brilliant.
It's
tackles his ass off.
It's a funny thing this year because
decent passing game.
Because we bemoan the shallow pool, but the best players are really good, and players are getting better, being in and around this competition. Like if you made the argument Croker's top 5 hooker, people would scoff at you, but you're not wrong. The same as you made if you said Drinkwater's the best fullback in the comp right now, I wouldn't argue with you. I would argue with you because it's fun, but I respect your opinion. But then you got Walsh and you got Latrell and you got Gutho's having as good a season as he's had.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bull is, only he's coming through. Not saying he's in the top 5 rank, but
Toto Kula was fantastic for Manly.
Yeah.
Showed everything that we've been promised again. Really good footwork. He's starting to be a bit more physically dominant against his opposition as well. So he's a real draw card for that Manly side, and they just need to learn how to unlock him a bit more frequently.
He's still got some work to do in defence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But name me how many centres out there that don't. There's not many. Manly deserved lead. They'd be pretty disappointed with the way that they really clocked off at the back end. But you do also have to say they had a lot of injuries in the middle of the field as well.
And they have 3 go. They lost Paseka. They lost the one I said earlier.
Jake copped the HIA in the last 10 or 15 minutes.
And Alloway. So they've lost their complete middle.
It was directly from Jake laying down to try and get a penalty, and he got hit in the head. Didn't get the penalty, and then they give him a HIA, which is the opposite of what we were talking about earlier. But
sorry, there was lesbians rolling in the car park.
Yeah, right.
That's all right. I think they're alive. Okay. Yes, that's right. Exactly opposite of what you're saying. I don't know. I was distracted now.
Both these teams are going to really.
How do these make the 8?
Yeah, they're going to struggle.
Well, this is where, and this is an interesting.
As we said,
what
we've
do you
said
take
all season
from this game? Like Manly and Canberra both just bemused me because their best is great, but I just treat them as they can't win the comp. So I know what it means. But they're beating teams that I think can win the comp, and you go, I don't know anymore.
The next, what have we got left? 5 weeks.
Yeah, 5 weeks.
If you can win 3 out of your next 5, you make the 8. Anyone from 14th up. Realistically, so that's what it comes down to now. Is being able to
now become scary.
If you can put 2 wins back to back in the next 5 weeks, you're going to go a long way of making the 8. So
let's put a bow on this game, just so I can ask you that question. I had DC for 3.
I had DC for 3.
I had 2 for McGuinness.
I had Lachlan Croker for 2.
Oh yeah. And I had Caller, Croker, Garrick, or Nico for 1. Only because I thought you were going to say Nico, but fuck Nico.
I had Kennedy or McGuinness for 1.
So let's go DC for 3.
Mm-hmm. Lachlan Croker for 2.
And Cooler for 1.
Okay.
Or Garrick.
Cooler
for 1. Now, the question about the 8, I was going to say, and we were just talking off air. So the ladder as it stands right now is interesting to look at. So you've got Penrith, Broncos, Warriors, top 3, and I think that is correct.
Correct.
Probably close. Storm 4, Raiders 5.
Incorrect.
Sharks 6,
Incorrect.
Cowboys 7, Eels 8, Rabbitohs 9, Knights, Seagulls, Roosters. I think,
Fuck
and then
knows.
Titans, and then the
You got a set of darts?
and the Geeks. So Rabbitohs now are going to go. Their next month is going to be. I just wrote it
Tamworth
down.
against the Tigers.
They're going to go to Tamworth,
Perth against the Sharks.
Cairns,
Yeah, against
Newcastle,
the
a bye and a call.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of travel in a month.
Which could be for a spot in the 8.
The Roosters game will be for a spot in the 8, as I said, which could be Sin Bin Sunday, which could be anything.
And they could both miss out.
Who are you penning now? Are you penning...
the 2 teams in the 8 that I think are the most...
what do you have to, I just feel like the Raiders are going to just stick there and just somehow win.
I think they'll probably end up 7th or 8th.
Cowboys are in. Cowboys will towel up.
Cowboys will end up 5th. I'm
Cowboys
pretty
have
sure
a tough
the Storm
draw,
will
but
end up 4th.
Just think about the Roosters, and it's unbelievable.
Parramatta and Sharks for mine are the 2 that look like they could fall out of the 8
Yeah.
more than anybody
But
else
Bunnies,
inside that 8.
I think.
But the problem with the Raiders is their points differential is fucking
it's
horrible.
like minus 200 or something.
I know that they've got a pretty soft draw, but if they drop 2 of those games and end up even with somebody, they're out of the 8 as well. So it's all like this loss to the Warriors, how they bounce back after this one this week. I'm not even sure who they've got this week coming up, but this is a very important game for the Raiders because if they drop this next one, they're now floating around 7th and 8th position with the worst points differential by a long way.
So we've got Brisbane Roosters this week, and we'll preview all this Wednesday night, probably via the Zoom is the safest way. Bunnies, as we said, have to go to Tamworth, but they're playing at Tigers. Storm can end Paris season. Raiders, Knights, and Knights aren't the worst against the Raiders. Seagulls, Dragons.
Well, there's points in them, and that's the one thing the Raiders have struggled with this year.
Penrith Sharks, and the Cowboys get the Titans, who they could probably put 40 on, or get beat by Golden Point. And then the week after, we've got. And the week after, I won't bother doing this all the way through.
One
but
more week, yeah.
Warriors got Titans, Roosters, Seagulls meet each other, Penrith Storm meet each other, Cowboys Brisbane meet each other. The Knights take on the Dolphins, so potentially the Knights could have a crack.
Have them sniffing around 7th.
Sharks and Rabbitohs clutch game at Perth.
Yeah, big one for both.
A real big game.
Mm-hmm.
Para get the Dragons.
Loser of that probably misses the 8, to be honest.
Yeah, and Raiders get the Tigers. So I think Raiders go in, and I think you say Cowboys go in, and I'd probably say Sharks fall into 8th, which means that Bunnies and Eels miss out.
I think the Sharks probably miss out. They've been deplorable.
They deserve to
the
miss
last
out,
3
probably.
weeks.
So, and I feel like Bunnies are... Rabbitohs get they get a shit travel schedule, but a sympathetic draw. So that's...
But yeah, the Sharks Bunnies is a big 4-point swing game. The Manly Raider one is another one that's a 4-point swing. I think you said Manly and Raiders play. Yeah. And there's going to be a couple of those games in the likes of Newcastle.
And it's all the way through, like a very...
Newcastle Raiders this week, that's another 4-point swing game. Like if they jump up 2 points...
Newcastle have
and they've got that 1 point differential for the draw. Same with Manly.
If Newcastle win the next 2, all of a sudden they're on 27 points and they're... And it's not,
the next 3 weeks is going to be absolute chaos.
Amazing
it's
season.
It's going to be your dream of absolute rugby league chaos in the next 3 weeks.
Someone's going to shit the bed. Someone's going to step up.
Come out of nowhere and belt somebody.
Or Parra will come out and win by 30 the next 3 weeks and just everyone just go, oh, fuck. Like, how good. At least something to talk about, eh?
Absolutely.
We've got to talk about some pot plantage. So which player would have performed better had it been replaced by a pot plant? I may as well open the batting and go with Thomas William Talau. Tigers probably win the game if a pot plant's on the field. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, right.
What are you going with?
The only person worse than a Sharks player in the game between Manly and Cronulla was Brad Parker. He dead set missed 3 tackles that led directly to tries 3 times in a row. Made 8 tackles and made 7 runs for 50 metres. I'm pretty sure he dropped the ball twice when he was running with the ball. So I didn't want to go looking for someone. I was looking for Sharks, but I ended up being Brad Parker. I thought he was horrible in this game.
Yeah. You got a slap for us?
Yeah, Trindle and Tracy, the left edge defensive combination that were credited for 8 missed tackles when it should have been 28 missed tackles was absolutely horrendous, and yeah, obviously a big part to the reason the Sharks they should have got belted.
My slap is firstly for me for ever believing in those fucking geeks at the West Tigers. and for how hard I took the last 2 weeks, and I don't quite know why.
They gave you hope 20 years ago.
I've barred watching the games, as I've said, so I'm done. I was going to slap. I don't feel good doing it because given they've run home, but I'm going to slap Souths and Para only in that if they're going to win the comp or they're going to be close to making the 8, they need to wake the fuck up and get their shit
together.
Throw
the Sharks in there too. Like the last 2 weeks,
yeah,
both of those
they
three
need
teams.
to be slapped. So they'll throw them all in. But those three supposed top 4 teams, and then, to me,
and they've gone from cementing a top 4 position to now fucking fighting for their
genuinely
lives.
I'm happy to probably text a Para and text a Sharks, and I'm slapping Souths because they're the hope. Latrell back's a big thing. Like it could be Latrell's month. He could, it could be.
Could be, but he could also faff around and fucking be unfit.
He'll be faffing. There'll be plenty of faffage. Don't worry. But it's the 5 times he doesn't faff that they score 30 points.
Absolutely.
So very intriguing. You got a salute for us, Barn?
I do. It's Tyson Frizzell for mine. I thought he was brilliant in that game for Newcastle. 116 runs, 170 run meters, 6 tackle busts, 2 line breaks, couple offloads, 30-odd tackles. I thought he was fantastic on that right-hand edge and really created the opportunities for the likes of Gagai and Young on his outside.
I have a salute, and I love a prop. I love a prop that carries a team, and I
gave me
so
a teaser
excited.
to this during the week.
So here's some stats for you: 48 minutes, 240 run meters, 73 post-contact meters with a line break, 9 tackle busts, 2 offloads, 21 tackles, and a try.
How did I miss this?
Sarah Togatuki, the West Tigers front
I didn't
rower.
watch the game.
Sarah Togatuki, she was absolutely incredible carrying the Tigers to where they got to. One of the best front rower performances I've seen all year. So she gets my salute this week.
I swear I didn't see that happen this weekend.
Incredible stats. So looking forward, and she's the reason I'm wearing this today, my Tigers shirt. So at least the girls give me some joy. I can't wait to review each and every one of their games for the next month, as I do not watch the other dorks play. It's been Footy and Frothy. Thank you for listening, everybody. I'm going to leave you some feedback on YouTube. Leave us some reviews on YouTube. Thumbs up and Spotify and all the rest of the stuff there. You can subscribe to us on Threads. You can subscribe to us on Instagram. You can subscribe to us on Facebook. I'm pretty much done with Twitter /X/ whatever the fuck is going on in that weird land.
Tell us we're wrong. Tell us we're right.
Yeah, all that sort of good stuff.
Buy some hats.
RugbyLeagueMerch.com. Anything else, Bun?
No, mate.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Back on Wednesday.
Buy some beer and we'll talk some shit until I go home.
Let's do that.
See everyone Wednesday to preview round 22 of what looks like an exciting round. We've got plenty of travel ahead for some of these teams. So looking forward to all of that. It's clutch time. Let's see who's clutch. See you guys. Take care and we'll talk soon.
Are you clutch?